Hey, everybody, welcome back. We've got more Inside Lion Athletics for you. We're starting off a little bit early. You won't be able to tell, but we've got some people that are getting ready to go do some traveling, and that's the track and field team. Before head coach George Pincock darts out of here, let's talk a little bit about how everything went in Lubbock. Apparently, it went well, and what's coming up in a couple of, 10 days.
Yeah, just that was headed out to Lubbock for our last regular season meet. Uh, and I think it was an indication that we're ready for the Southland Conference Championship in 10 days. So a really good week. Wasn't a weekend, it was a Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
But a good weekend for us. Two school records on the oval and then one school record out in the field.
Y'all have set so many records this year, and they're not just school records. I mean, there for a while you had the fastest men's 4x200 relay team on the planet.
I think it's just I don't want to say it lightly, but it's secondary to what we try to teach. Is just when you get on the track, try to be great no matter what that weekend of trainings looked like.
Hmm.
Just be great when you're out there. So I think that's kind of secondary to that culture that we've developed amongst the team.
Outstanding. All right, let's talk about some of these outstandings. Over on the women's side, Savannah Harvey, Sydney Wilson, Leah Pettis, and Kiara Brown. They had the top 4x100 meter relay time and the 40th best in the country at that Lubbock meet. How'd that do for them as a relay team? Was that the best time they'd ever turned in together?
Yeah, so that's a school record. So the best time that's ever been through this university. First time I've got to work with a group of girls that's run under 45 seconds.
Wow,
I
that's
felt
something.
pretty I felt pretty confident, even early in the fall training that we had a team that could do that.
Hmm.
Um, but on that women's side, I've stayed patient, just kind of worked through some people not feeling well here and there, um, and really not tried to pressure them into feeling like they have to try to do that when I say we need to go do that. And you know, we got on the track and people were feeling good and they put a good race together. So very proud of those girls, and I do think that they can run a bit faster too. I think that's kind of just touching that iceberg with that girls group. Um, and putting a group out there that was capable. Um, but we've got some things to work on the technical side that they can run faster for sure.
Coach, you and I have talked a little bit about your own career and how, you get to a certain level of the sport and then you're chasing tenths of a second. And, so part of the way you do that, y'all watch film on yourselves to
Yeah,
find those tenths of seconds.
yeah. Again, I try to stay a big picture guy too.
Hmm.
Look at the foundational pieces of technique and acceleration and mechanics, and hit home on those points. And if each girl can do one little thing and be a tenth faster or
Hmm.
500ths of a second faster, you multiply that by four. That makes a uh, pretty significant impact on that final result.
If a pretty good athlete, not world class, but a pretty good athlete were to watch themselves on film and get it broken down mechanically like the way you're able to do, how much time do those collectively represent sometimes? I mean, can somebody get a second faster, or can they get half a second faster, or even 2 seconds faster?
Yeah, again, I think a lot of that just depends on training age.
Hmm.
Speed is a skill; it's teachable.
Hmm.
Uh, someone who has never done any of that is probably going to see some pretty big shifts
Hmm.
early. But someone who's in their fourth or fifth year of this after a long high school, some of those same type of shifts are only going to represent a tenth of a second or a few hundredths of a second. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think it just depends on the person and kind of what their training background looks like. But I think you can always see improvements in speed.
And when you talk about improvements in their training, you're talking about the mechanics. They get their mechanics better.
Yeah, the majority of it, I mean, is going to be mechanics, making sure the body's in the right position.
Yeah,
Um, but there's also kind of a neural component. You know, are we firing the best that we can be firing? Goes into
right.
the weight room, fascia, a big long deep dive that you don't want to go on with me.
That's okay. We understand the dive and it
Yeah,
goes to the water, but it's a dive where you go up instead of down.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Hey, the men's 4x100 weren't going to be outdone.
Yeah.
Tell me about the quartet that ran a 38.98, another new school record. And coach, 13th fastest in the country.
Again, a lot like the girls. I just had a feeling early in the year that we had a relay and or a couple different relays that could probably dip under that
Mm-hmm.
39-second barrier. And again, try not to put pressure on people to do it because I said, let's do it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and again, a lot like the women, just a competitive group that got out there, performed at a high level and got the school record, but also think that we can clean some things up technically and run faster. So
That's fun. It's just all the pieces to get better are a lot smaller at the level that they
yeah,
can be for others. All right, so those guys, one of your 4x100 meter relay team is going to go step out of a lion uniform for just a moment and go run for his nation at the World Relay Championships in China. Tell us about Mr. Fusini and what he's going to be up to.
yeah. So fortunate for Ibrahim. Last summer he ran at the Olympics, and kind of with his performances this year, got the nod from his national federation that they would invite him to represent the country at World Relay Championships, along with five others from
Mm-hmm.
Ghana. So, it's going to be a fun track meet. The only thing at the track meet is 4x1s, 4x4s, mixed 4x4s, and this year they're introducing a mixed 4x1. Uh, so really only 4 races. Day one, you come back the next day. If you haven't qualified for World Championships,
Mm-hmm.
you get a second shot, and that's all you're trying to do is qualify your team for the national championships, or excuse me, the World Championships,
Mm-hmm.
um, September. So this is kind of that first opportunity to secure your nation's spot to be represented at that World Championship.
Where in China will the meet be held?
Oh, I can't even say it. Uh, Avi, I'm gonna call him Gongzhou. So Gongzhou.
Wow. Never even heard of that one.
Yeah,
But then I had never heard much of Shenzhen and found out they have like 30 million people there when I was
yeah.
over. So
I'm just afraid I'm gonna say everything wrong all weekend long. So
that's okay.
yeah,
You'll just teach them how to say howdy, coach. That's what you need to teach them howdy.
take a cowboy hat and just say howdy.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fair.
play it up big.
Yeah,
Trust me, they love you when you're from Texas.
always.
Hey, we had some other great performers. I thought that it was especially cool that you had Tina Sampson, who finished third in the javelin, but then she ran over and finished eighth in the 100-meter hurdles. And when I said, yeah, that's great, she's doing two. And then you told me what else she did.
Yeah, so that's one of the athletes that trains with Coach Light in his combined events group.
Mm-hmm.
She's a heptathlete, so we know that with the Southland Conference Championship just around the corner, she's going to have some busy days.
Mm-hmm.
So our trip to Lubbock last week was kind of a dress rehearsal of having to be ready for multiple things, a little bit one after another.
Mm-hmm.
And she handled the pressure of that very well, performed at a very high level, uh, and is no doubt in my mind prepared to probably do more at the Southland Conference Championship with a schedule that's even more spread out than what we tried to mimic last week. So we had several athletes we did that with last week, just kind of that dress rehearsal of things back to back.
Okay. Over in the discus circle, Cassandra Rendon threw at 177 plus. That finished third. a new school record, 46 best in the country, and her teammate, Romy Greasy, 164 feet. She finished fifth. That was a new personal best, or excuse me, that was a different event where she had the personal best in the shot put. But uh, Rendon and Greasy, they were kind of battling back and forth over that school record this year, haven't they?
Yeah, two girls that I think we knew were capable of breaking that school record. It was just kind of finding the right meet with the right conditions, and they did that out at Long Beach. I believe Cassandra on the first day at Long Beach broke the school record. Shortly after, Romy broke the school record. Then Cassandra broke it. Maybe I'm backwards. Romy, Cassandra, Romy, Cassandra. So it's been
Okay.
4 times. So as long as we keep
Incredible.
going back and forth between lions, I'm a-okay. They
Absolutely.
can argue about who gets it. It's us.
All right. So tell us, what do you think, though? What do you think where the Lions poised for in the conference meet? And, knock on wood, it'll be the last time that that's where their season has to end.
Yeah, I think we've built a team that's really good up top.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not quite as deep as we need to be, but that was also kind of a choice that we made as a coaching staff. So again, I think if you do that and you believe in the talent you have at top, and the middle gets motivated,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really hard not to be a top three team. Even a top four team in this
Mm-hmm.
conference is a very good conference in track and field. Uh, so I think on a good day, we're somewhere in there on both genders. So
Okay, so they've picked a neutral track for the conference meet. You'll be at Rice down in Houston. Have any of the Lions run on that track?
we
Is
were at
that
Rice last year for our
okay?
outdoor conference. Haven't been down this year, uh, and we're just gonna go with that championship mindset. It could be at Commerce High School, it could be at Greenville High School. We want to come and compete. That's what we want.
Don't care, let us run.
Yeah.
All right. Coach, thanks for your time today. I know you got a lot ahead of you for here in the next day or two, but man, what a treat and how well the Lions have done. Good luck to you in China. Safe travels, and we may get to talk again before the conference meet, but we definitely will after.
All right. Thanks,
Lions
Tyler.
up, everybody. That's George Pincock, head coach of your men's and women's track program. We'll be back with more Inside Lion Athletics after this. Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's edition of Inside Lion Athletics. Not a whole lot going on. And then at the same time, there's tons going on. Got Jim Curry. He knows a little bit about some of that stuff that's going on. Man, the first question, this is the most important thing of all. We got to break bread down in Lake Charles at the Southland Conference softball bracket tournament. Lion women did so good. But what do you think? Regular mayonnaise or jalapeno mayonnaise on a Daryl special?
Always jalapeno mayo, no questions asked. When I was down there for the Southland basketball tournament in March, I went with the no jalapeno mayo, and that was a mistake.
You just felt like you didn't get the whole experience.
I get the whole experience. Now I did go off the normal menu this time. You were there. Oh, no, that was I went the next day too, by the way. So
There
I
you
went with you
go.
on day one, and then I went with the Lamar AD actually for day two, and I went with the surf and turf, and that
Ooh.
was strong.
Was that a surf and turf po' boy?
Yeah, it was like roast beef and grilled shrimp.
Dang.
Mhm.
They've been hiding that one from us.
Yeah,
But if it's in line behind the special, it's hard to get there.
that's right. It's hard to get there.
Hey, before we've got so much on this list, and we didn't have softball on there because Coach Brittany's going to be on with us in a little bit. But how about the way that team played down there?
No
They were
question.
that close to getting McNeese, and then that close to getting Lamar in the next day and playing into the weekend.
Yeah, it was fun talking to the president this week when we got back. We were in cabinet yesterday, and one of the things that he mentioned, and I'm really glad he did, was we've been kind of ships in the night here, so we hadn't really kind of caught up a little bit since we clinched the spot against HCU, and so the he was referencing the video when we clinched and the win to get to the tournament, and just how much just joy, right, that the girls felt, and you could see through that image. And he's so right. I guess it's, again, we talked about it a little bit, I think, in last week's episode, but just, just kind of the progress, right? And celebrating it along the way. And, again, we always want to be better where we can be. And there's probably some games we wish we could reimagine, but let's not take away from, an accomplishment to get there for the first time. And again, I appreciate him mentioning just the elation that the girls felt about doing that and accomplishing that first step. And then, to your point, going down there and then just playing our tails off. And, I think, we're still only 3 years into this, right? 6 semesters into this Division I experience. And, it's one of those where you get it there for the first time, and then you play, and you prove to everybody that you belong to be there, right?
No doubt.
And so that was, I just think, the biggest takeaway. And it's one of those things where other people in the league are taking notice, and that's not the first weekend of softball where I've had someone from another institution say, "Hey, you guys are a lot better," or "You guys got something cooking there," and kind of see what's happening. And again, like, we lead the league in home runs this year, right? I mean, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. You look at some of the players that have developed in the program over the last couple of years. I mean, Tatum Wright, I mean, she hit a ball in that last half of the inning against Lamar that still hasn't landed, I think. I mean, there's that shed out in straightaway center at McNeese. She hit the top of it. It had to have been like 275. I mean, it was crazy. And but like, she came here as a walk-on. I mean, right? I mean, and now she's, one of the best hitters in the league. You talk about someone like Julia, who became a Friday starter for us. She was, I think, her first year here, it was the last year in Division II. I mean, she pitched 4 innings that whole season, I think, is what Avi told me. So, I just look at some of the folks that have kind of developed along the way, and I know they're bringing a lot in next year as well. So excited to see continued growth there with our softball program. We know it's important for our fans here, and there's a lot of opportunity there for us as well. So, but again, just really excited about the weekend and the way we played. Even though we went 0-2, you couldn't have made it any closer in those 2 than we did.
All right. So graduation's coming up. Let's go to the next thing, like this weekend or next week.
This weekend, Friday,
This weekend.
Saturday. And right now, 65 grads on the docket, which is an incredible number. Would certainly be the highest number since we've gone D1. And again, probably no small feat, given just the dynamics of Division I athletics right now, transfer portals and you name it. But I think what's really cool about the list of graduates is that, we've got obviously a good number of undergraduates. We've got some grad school graduates in there as well. And then we actually have a few returners who left the institution without completing their degree. And then we got them back here to finish the degree. And so, just, maintaining that commitment to ensuring degree completion and getting kids across the stage, that's important to what we're doing. I don't care what division we are or what the whole, milieu or paradigm or model of collegiate athletics looks like. We got to get kids across the stage, and, we're continuing to do that at a pretty high level. So, we're excited for the weekend and what that entails, but proud of all those folks.
That's going to be indoors or out this year. We have options.
It's inside the field house.
Oh, you're going to try the new video boards out, eh?
Yeah, we're trying to see what type of functionality we got. I don't think we've got a ton yet. They're still so new. We're still trying to onboard some of the requisite software there. So I know people are working on it, but I'm not intimately involved in that conversation for grad, but I know it may be a little bit still too early to fully execute those for grad.
So just to tease everybody and give them another reason to go to graduation if they're close by, 4 big video boards in respectively the corners of the competition floor. And then over the bleachers in between the corners along the sideline parts, you've got a ribbon board that goes up.
Yes. So ribbon boards along the sideline, 2 big boards in each corner. it changes the whole feel in there. So excited to really try to showcase and activate those in a pretty substantive way as we get into the fall with volleyball and then looking ahead into basketball. But they're definitely they changed the whole space. They're really impressive.
So as soon as graduation goes, y'all have to start looking towards the fall. And I shouldn't say you need to start looking because fall's just a couple of months away and we got work to do.
Oh, no question. There's a lot of work to do and we're already on it. We mentioned, looking ahead to fall with volleyball and then hoops, but yeah, I mean, we're already sitting down talking about, kick times and maybe some, operational adjustments to what we do with the seating deck on the west side, maybe creating some more price points for fans to, find something that works for them.
Mhm.
you know, the game production itself, everything from, in-game, on-field, sponsor activations, students, music. I mean, you name it, we're looking at everything. We're looking at tailgate and maybe reimagining that, trying to see if we might be able to get folks a little more adjacent to their parking spot and their vehicle while
Mhm.
not trying to, harm the vibe that we've got out at tailgate because it's really good. So yeah, we're looking at everything right now and just trying to look at it through a little bit of a fresh lens. We had some good response to the premium spaces in the end zone. We actually are trying to see if we may be able to create a little bit of a new concept there, a little bit of like a field level loge type concept. So we're studying that right now. So a lot going on there. And then actually we're spending a lot of time right now too, planning for our first two games, which are on the road, the SMU game, which we're trying to turn that into as much of a home game as we can. And based on the conversations I've had with folks to date about that, I think that sentiment is certainly being reciprocated throughout the fan base because the amount of people that are excited about that game that have already talked about either how do I get tickets or trying to get tickets or tailgating or what have you, they've got it circled. There's no doubt. And so we'll have some more ticket information about both the SMU and the Florida State game soon. Again, planning for Florida State, I've already been a little bit surprised about how many folks have kind of got that as a destination location for them. So, we're excited about those first 2 weeks, but we're heavily focused on getting to well, I guess it's week 5, but the first home game when we get here back in Memorial Stadium.
So tell me, have you tried to tempt the ponies into putting our brand over at least on the visitors side of the stadium?
Yeah, we'll make sure it's present there. I don't know how prevalent it'll be, but it'll be present there on site for sure.
Well, they had to learn something when they had that bowl game and Texas State fans drank all the beer on that one side of the stadium and had to make runs to the other.
No doubt.
That's an incredible football
Great
story
story.
there in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's exciting. There's a lot of energy around that. And, I think as we look ahead to, just the programming of the weekends, we've got homecoming set, we got family weekend set. We need to, kind of put a bow on Hall of Fame. We've got some great week games at the end of the year. And then actually that we're going to host the volleyball conference tournament here in November. So
yeah,
yeah, we're off and going. Let's put it that way.
great stuff. All right, do you want to talk about feasibility study on football first or reclass?
Oh, sure. We can talk about feasibility study real quick. There's a little bit to update there, but I'd say more to come. But
Mm-hmm.
we had that out there as an item that we were working on really at the end of winter, really beginning of the spring term. We put that on the back burner a little bit as we got through the heavy reclass expedited process here in like February, March. So we've been able to pick that back up. We actually had some initial kind of some first pass conversations with them. One of the things that they're doing is looking at just some site evaluation, both of existing conditions, but if we were to do something different, where that would be. So we actually met with them this week and talked about just the kind of first pass high level evaluation of just different sites on campus. I think the takeaway from that is that the existing site has got a lot of opportunity with it.
Location,
No
Jim.
question. And we definitely, as part of that process, they evaluated some other locations on campus. But I think right now we're going to continue to we've determined we're going to kind of put our focus over there on the existing site as we keep working. Now, does that mean reno, new build, what have you? That hasn't been determined. That's part of the next phase of the evaluation and the study that they're looking at. And again, part of this too was kind of test fitting some other concepts that could surround the stadium in any way, whether that be mixed use, residential, academic, medical, retail, you name it. We kind of wanted to just take a high level evaluation of different sites and see what would work, both not just right now for our current needs, but even as we grow and expand and look to the future, can we ensure that it still allows for that type of growth to occur in the way that it would need to if we were to, depending on what we do. And, I think we were able to validate that on the existing side. I think what kind of came out of that maybe more than anything is that while there are other sites that are certainly viable in our campus footprint, that one actually is probably validated more than others because of variety of conditions or variables at other sites. So that was an important first step as we start to kind of plan the next phase of this, is to really kind of zero in, on a location and then kind of pour our work into that. So a lot more to come on this. Like I said, we're probably a little bit behind where we wanted to be when we initially engaged in this, because we changed some of the priorities in the spring, but this is now going to become a focus item for us as we get into the summer.
So you talking about changing the focus when January rolled around and we had a chance to reclassify quickly. There wasn't the feasibility study was started and kind of handed off to the experts to do their thing kind of simultaneously, while y'all had to say, okay, good to meet y'all, go do your thing and we'll be ready for you later. Did it work out that way?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it worked out. Yeah, as we didn't foresee. I mean, we didn't get a lot of notice on this expedited reclass track.
Mm-hmm.
Knew there was some discussion, but we had kind of been told all along that, don't hold your breath on that. And so we had been having this, kind of engagement with, the folks that are working on the feasibility study for a little bit of time, just to, work through what that process could look like, what the scope of the work would be. And so it just ended up timing up that way. And again, because of just everything that had to go into that process of expedited reclass track, we really had to take some items that were, I would say, they weren't like core essential items that we had to do, and really just kind of see what we could, table or kind of put on a simmer, maybe work on at a slower pace than we maybe originally intended, because we had to just reallocate some of the bandwidth of the staff. So that's really, it just, it kind of came together coincidentally at the same time. But again, all good.
How much longer will the feasibility crew be working on this? At some point, they're going to hand everything off to you and it becomes up to Lion you.
Yeah, I would say that by the end of the summer for sure.
Okay.
And it could be even sooner than that. They've done a lot of work behind the scenes that they've been waiting for us to come back up for air. And we've been doing a little bit of work too. I shouldn't say that we haven't put it on pause per se. We just kind of slowed some of the effort on our end.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's see what else. We got a big weekend coming up, not this weekend, but next for Lion Track and Field. George Pincock and his crew, they've got some cool stuff going on, and they're headed to Houston to see how many medals they can bring back.
Yeah, and that's George, who's halfway across the world right now at the World Championships, right? World Relays, and with Foose, and so he'll get back, and no rest for the weary, because we crank it back up and we get going down in Houston. So and actually we got Night of Champions on Friday, live auction. The silent auction, I'm sorry, just went live yesterday, so you can check that out. All the items in there, a great menu of items. But that's Friday night, and then George is going to unfortunately have to miss that, obviously, because he's down a track. But we got a crew of us that are loading up the car on Saturday morning, and getting out there first thing to be able to get down there, because they crank it back up on about noon on Saturday for the last day. So we'll have a good contingent down there that will be a little bit tired as well, but probably nothing like George, who's halfway across the world right now.
I mean, that's a long flight. I haven't gone much into the interior over there, but with Smart Bugs, I went over to Hong Kong once, and just from Houston, the first leg of the trip is 13 hours to Seoul, and 4 more to Hong Kong. But if you're going somewhere further north, but in the inland, who knows?
Who
He'll
knows?
be
Yeah.
tired.
Well, we'll find out when he gets back, right?
Yeah,
What's kind of cool is
tired but happy.
tired but happy for sure. And what's kind of cool is we talked about grad. We got grad on Friday, Saturday. We've got a grad reception for our student athletes Friday morning. But before that, because of just some scheduling quirks at the end of the year here, we couldn't find a good time for senior day for track and golf. So we're going to actually do that before our grad ceremony on Friday. But what's kind of cool is we're trying to see if we can get George to kind of patch in from China. And also we got to be sensitive to just, technology, restrictions and things like that. So, but we're trying to see if we can patch him in so that he can, be present for track senior day, even though he's halfway across the world. So technology is a great thing, right?
That it is. That's very cool. Okay, so let's see what is left. Oh yeah, this week is dead week as well as finals week as far as recruiting goes. Are you getting to see some of your long lost coaches? We haven't seen Valerie King or Jarrett Von Rosenberg since we turned dirt on the new arena.
Oh my gosh, all these coaches have been cranking, and it doesn't matter the sport right now. Everybody's involved in something recruiting related, I think, except for women's basketball. I think they're in the shutdown period this week. But yeah, I mean, we've got a men's recruit actually on campus later this week. So portals either opening or just closing for some sports. So again, this is and then again, we're still waiting on some final word on the court cases and the settlement. So our coaches, they're just grinding at it, and I think we're all just kind of taking it one bite at the apple, one step at a time through this. But May is, even though we're kind of, May still is a very busy month.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we don't have a ton of action going on the playing surface, just from a kind of putting a bow on the year, or trying to look ahead for next year. I mean, we're going to have football and basketball report for summer practice here first week in June. So, I mean, we're just like 4 weeks away from that. And so it creeps up quick. And then we still have some reclass reporting we've got to do. That's always due at the end of the month as a staff. So, again, we had a 318-page report due in March. This one will be about 60 pages. But this is some of the annual stuff that we do every year, kind of end of year reporting. We got some requisite meetings we have to go to this month. And again, you're trying to bring graduation in for a landing, grades run. You're getting ready for summer school. You've got sports, again, reporting first week in June. You're trying to, finalize preparations for fall. So, and recruiting windows are still open. Again, there's still some things that coaches are still trying to finalize some rosters even for fall. So, the summers in college athletics aren't like they used to be. They're very active. And for I think particularly for us and in the current overall environment, it's still a very, very active space, even though the academic year may be coming to a close. The work and the things that we've got to do to get ready and be in the best position for success come fall. We're just in the thick of it right now.
All right, man. Hey, we have gone forever, almost. So we're going to let somebody else come aboard. But Jim, it's always good to catch up. It's amazing. We've done this how many weeks in a row?
I think we're like 38 or something like that.
Yeah. And you've had one doctor slip to let you out of one of these. It's incredible how much there is to talk about week in and week out.
I guess we'll have to give you a little bit of a break for the summer. Maybe we'll we'll slow down the cadence a little bit. So once we get on the other side of graduation, but we'll have to be sure to reconnect with folks, because to your point, there is still a lot going on, and I think a lot to look forward to as well. So, we'll certainly need to get some folks updated on what's happening with some of our sports here during the summer. And then certainly as we kind of get the reclass stuff across the line, I had already put it on the calendar. So I think it's June 23rd is the board of directors meeting. So that's obviously where the final action will take place relative to that. So that's certainly something we'd want to try to touch on, assuming everything goes well there. And then, June 1 still a big date for us too, in terms of the Nike launch. And there's been a lot of work behind the scenes going on for that. And we're excited to really showcase these new uniforms and the new branding, and in terms of what we're doing to showcase the university. So a lot of energy and excitement around that as well. So, we're just going to keep trying to move the ball.
All right, man. Well, it hadn't sat still very long, man. Can't wait to find out. And we'll talk more about that June 23rd date another time, because that's going to be a big day.
Big day for sure.
All right, man. Lions up, everybody. We've got Brittany Miller coming to join us next. Stick around. This is Inside Lion Athletics. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to some more Inside Lion Athletics. We've talked to Jim Curry. We have talked to George Pincock before he left for China. Now we get Brittany Miller, who's just back from Lake Charles like a number of other folks. Coach, it was so good to see your team fighting so hard. They just that much.
We were right there. It was good to go down and see them fight and, just believe in themselves all weekend. And we came up short in both games. But at the end of the day, I was proud of our fight, our effort, the way they just kind of came together and played on that stage.
You had a must-win game in Houston, and it went down to the very last of the 3 games just to get to the tournament. What about some of the players on the squad that help kind of keep everybody together as well in the locker room, and help lead the charge into those berths, and how well you played?
I think it was a group effort. Everybody had the right mindset moving forward, and everybody was excited. And so, our seniors didn't want to go out, without a fight. And I think everybody else wanted to send them off in the best way possible. And, so the talk throughout the week was just, let's keep fighting. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep, doing this together. And they were able to put differences aside and just go out there and play ball. So I was excited to see. And, the ones that are going to come back next year are hungry. They got a taste of what it's like. And so at the end of the day, I think it was a good showing and a good experience for everybody.
Jared Knight, my boss over at KETR and my sidekick on the broadcast we did on the Lion, he was really impressed by how loose and the camaraderie that was exhibited in the time before the start of the elimination game.
Yeah, it's always good to see, especially both teams, right? They're excited to be at that stage, and it's competitive while we're playing and between the lines, but outside of it, they're student athletes that are enjoying their experience, and that's what it's about. Actually, me and Coach Hooks are in those moments, you just let them be them and enjoy the moment, enjoy the experience. And it was downtime. It's not like anybody was supposed to be, warming up in those moments. And so it was good to see. They're all loose. They're all ready to go. And, when they went out there, they fought. And that's all we could ask for.
So the attacks on who would have the fastest time from the back of the pitcher's circle to home plate on the radar gun. What I heard from one of the cameramen was that when they saw one of their coaches run it and the time that was posted, he said, that gun is broken.
Yeah, they had a fun time doing that. I was like, what are they doing? And then as we were watching, it was just funny to watch our team and then their team and just healthy competition. And that's what you want. college athletics is about competition, and even when you find small ways to compete, it's fun to watch.
What were some of the moments in both of those games, even counting the third one back in Houston that got you in there? But just moments that you, Coach Bustos, Coach Josh, and the players uh, they just won't forget.
Tatum's home runs, I mean, those were something special. But I think at the end of the day, they were just passing the bat. And so it was exciting to be able to see how contagious hitting was and just how excited they were for each other. And then we had a good performance in the circle. Julia and Kate did a really good job the last 3 games. Maddie came in and did a good job. Like, there was just no doubt in anybody's minds that we were going to go out there and do our job. And we fell short a little bit in those last 2 games, but it showed that we weren't just coming out and okay, just getting to the tournament. Like, we wanted to do something at the tournament. And so for the 8th seed to come in and play like we did against McNeese with the scores that we had previously against them, like, I couldn't ask for, the whole moment, the whole picture to be any better.
That's great stuff. Well, but now the season has ended, and now it's time to move on to 2025 and 26. After you catch a little breath, what is up next for you and your staff?
We'll go out recruiting this summer. We're gonna hit the transfer portal. We got recruiting to get underway, and we're excited about our 25 class that's coming in. We're excited about the 26s that have either verbaled or we have on the radar, and so we're gonna nail all that down and get our roster set for next year. And at the end of the day, we got work to do, and we're gonna hit the recruiting trail.
Coach, you've seen in the portal now for what, all 3 years,
Mhm.
and you've seen it kind of evolve itself. I think that's going to always be an ever living thing. But
Mhm.
have there been, when you see a player in the portal, is it easy, a little bit easier to gauge what they may have been doing with adequate playing time in their previous stops?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit. There's character checks that we got to do because there's a reason why everybody's in the portal, what the reasonings are, and it's our job to find out so that we make sure that we're bringing in the right kid, the right
Mm-hmm.
athlete to compete and bring into this culture that we're trying to build here. So, the portal is nice to be able to have some experience playing at the collegiate level already and bring that. But at the same time, we got to do our due diligence to make sure that we're recruiting the student athletes that are going to fit well with us, not just based on where they were.
What kind of conversations have you had anecdotally with other coaches in the Southland about their experiences with it?
I would say we all share the idea that it's good for
Mm-hmm.
our sport overall. Obviously, as a mid-major, we don't want to lose our top kids to the portal so that they get picked up by bigger schools, but that's kind of where we're at right now, and that's the risk that we take, obviously being at a mid-major. But I think when we're doing things the right way for the right reasons, and it's all about the student athletes, then it's easy to build that culture that people are going to want to stay. And so that's what I think we're trying to do just in the Southland in general, is just keeping good talent because everybody's coming up. And quite frankly, like, it's all competitive. There's not a team in the Southland that can't compete on any given day. So it's exciting to see, and it's exciting, where the portal's kind of taken some schools. But at the end of the day, it's about the right fit for, the coaching staff that you have and the culture you're trying to build.
So, what do you think, Southeastern or McNeese? That should be an interesting series, huh?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. I think either one of them could come up top, and at the end of the day, I think either one of them will represent the Southland well, in the NCAA tournament. And I think the more that we just keep competing and getting in there, hopefully our conference will be a two-bid conference sooner than later.
All right. Well, that'll be fun to watch out for. Well, Coach, I know you're catching up a little bit on, non-game days and non-practice days, but it just gives you time for the rest of it, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of admin stuff now. Just get
Oh,
ready to wrap it up.
very good. Are you going to, is the D1 thing a big deal to your recruits like it is in some of the other sports?
Yeah, yeah, it's it's a big deal, and at the end of the day, I think everybody's vision is they want to go D1. And then when they're not, getting recruited by the D1, then they're trying to find where their place is. But being D1 is a huge deal, and being able to play postseason next year is going to be really instrumental in our recruiting efforts this summer.
All right, some of the places that you go personally to watch players, you and Coach Bustos, Coach Josh, where are y'all going to be headed to? Are these going to be select team tournaments, school tournaments?
Select ball tournaments for the most part, all over Texas. We have some kids that are coming in from California, so we'll hit California a little bit. And then really just in the Midwest.
Okay, good enough. Coach, it was a long season. It was a hard season, but it was a worthy season. And really proud of the way it ended up for y'all at the tournament. You had some people scared.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, we're going to line up here. Folks, Brittany Miller, head coach of Lions softball. Oh, so close. But we can't wait to see him there again. Coach, have a great summer. I'm sure we'll see you on campus, though, between now and August.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside Lion Athletics. Who knew that May could be so packed full of good stuff? We'll tell you more about that when we come back for next week. See you then.